Welcome to Butterflies of Wisdom, everyone. This morning with me I have Michele. Michele is our author, so without further ado, I'm going to let Miss Michele take it away.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here today, and I'll just give you a brief introduction of myself. I'm Dr. Michele Summers-Colon. I go by Dr. Michele. I am a holistic podiatrist, Ayurvedic health coach, and shoe designer. So I have 3 different businesses, and it keeps me very busy. I'm also a mom to a 15-year-old girl, so between all of that, I'm pretty busy, but I spend most of my time in my medical practice working with diabetics and people with different types of pain, like chronic pain, and I help them get out of pain holistically by looking at the whole picture, and we spend a lot of time working on what they're eating and how that affects the different pains and issues that they're having in their body.
Because pain can go down to your feet, and it won't stop once it's in your feet. I know that. Trust me.
Yeah.
Trust
There's a
me,
lot
I
of
know
things.
that.
I bet you do. You've probably experienced that too. But there are a lot of conditions that cause pain in the feet. And so sometimes people come to me saying they have foot pain, but really their bigger problem is something higher up. And so we have to look at that and figure out what's going on rather than just give them a prescription for pain pills, which is what a lot of their other doctors have been doing.
Yeah.
That's why they end up coming to me, because they're trying to get through it.
I want to get off those opioids. Thank you very much. Oh, right. I have a strong opinion on opioids. Not fun. And to give you an example, you guys, of what Michelle's talking about, back pain could go into your feet. Lower back pain could go into your feet if you're not careful. Am I correct in saying it? Am I correct in saying that, Michele?
Yes, very much so.
Yes. So that's back pain could go from your back to your feet. And so, Michele, what would be your best tip from you to my audience in saying that so people don't have to run to these holistic doctors or the traditional doctors to figure out what's wrong with them?
Yeah, that's true. A lot of times we know intuitively what's wrong, and so there are things we can do on our own before we go to the doctor. But if those things are not working and you're stuck, then that is the time to go to the doctor. And if your doctor is just trying to give you prescriptions for pain pills, that's really just masking the problem and treating the symptom. So we just need to get past that and really start looking at what is the cause of the pain.
Yes. And so you do work with diabetic nerve, and I was just going to Aspen, what has that caused in the feet though? Because I interview, funny enough, I interview a lot of people with diabetes, and they say that their foot pain is something that goes unnoticed, and as diabetes as a whole goes noticed, the foot pain of the diabetes is something that is secondary to them. So could you please explain to my audience what a diabetic may be going through in their feet?
Yeah, so a couple of things you mentioned. It's true that a lot of times the foot pain gets overlooked by their medical doctors, and a lot of times what they're told is, oh, that's part of diabetes. So basically they're just told just to live with it. And most of the patients that come to me with diabetic foot pain have been told that by their doctor, and they've just accepted it at this point. But they're maybe coming to me for a diabetic foot check that their doctor has sent them for me to check their feet, but not because of the diabetic foot pain. So when we get into it, I let them know what the reason that they have it and what are some of the things we can do for it. So the reason diabetics get foot pain in their feet is because the elevated blood sugar affects the nerves in the body, and the feet are the farthest away from the heart. So they're getting less of the circulation, they're getting less of the blood flow, and less of the nutrients down to the nerves that are going all the way down to their feet. And the nerves are also affected by the sugar down in the feet. So what happens is they get a lot of numbness in their feet, and they also get a lot of pain. So some people get the numbness, some people get the pain, and some people get both.
I'm so sorry I muted my mic. Let me ask that question again. I am so sorry I sat here muted my mic. I have circulation, poor circulation due to my cerebral palsy. When I go work out on the Galileo tilt table, and for those of you that don't know what a Galileo tilt table is, think of it as a power plate on steroids like you see at the gym. But my feet get so itchy when I get off, the bottom of my feet get so itchy when I get off the dang thing. Why is that, Michele?
That is actually a good sign. That shows that you are getting more circulation down to the feet, and so the little nerves that are giving you the sensation of itching are kind of waking up. You can kind of think of it as they were sleeping before, and now they're getting woken up with all that blood flow.
Okay.
And they're letting you know, hey, we're here, we're working. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, I was just curious about that. And I'm so sorry if you guys didn't hear the question originally. I said here and muted my mic. Then I unmuted my mic. But my next question to you is, how should we look at the body holistically?
Well, what we need to do to look at the body holistically is we need to look at everything from what we're doing in the morning to what we're eating to what we're doing in the evening. Basically, our daily routine. What are we doing to make these things happen? To cause pain, or it might not even be our fault. Maybe we're eating really healthily, but the foods that we're getting from the grocery store have things in them that are affecting us. So we have to start looking at everything, starting with the diet, what we're putting in our mouth, what we're doing on a daily basis, to start figuring out what's going on. Because a lot of these things can be fixed by diet and lifestyle changes without the use of medication.
I agree with Michele. You guys know this by now. I have cerebral palsy. The only medication I am on is vitamin D. And that's because my vitamin D level is so low they had to put me on vitamin D. But that's the only medication I am on. I try and stay away from the sugar. So I agree with Michele that we must look at the body as a temple to figure out, to make the pain go away. Because once you look at the body as a temple, you can make the body can heal itself if you see the body as a temple. And so, Michele, what has been your best moment in your most success in being an entrepreneur?
I would say my best moment would be a time where I saved someone's foot from being amputated. So with the diabetics that I work with, yeah, a lot of them are at the end stage of their disease, and sometimes they don't get to me until their doctors just don't know what else to do with them, or sometimes the patient doesn't go into the doctor until there's something major, like their foot is turning black. So I've had several patients like this, but one I can think of in particular where he was told by several doctors at several different hospitals that they were going to have to amputate his foot or part of his foot. And when he came to me, I checked his circulation, and I could tell that we would be able to save the foot by doing some different treatments on him, and we were able to cure his infection that he had going on, as well as save his foot from being amputated. And it was a really big deal for him, which it would be for anybody, but especially for him because he already had a partial amputation on his other foot. And so he's already had issues with walking with one foot partially amputated. So if he had the other foot amputated, that might put him in a wheelchair. So this was very life-changing for him. And the fact that I got to be involved and help him with that, I just felt so blessed, like it was one of my biggest achievements. And I've had several patients like that. So the fact that I can save people's feet, and even it goes on to their lives, because there's some really big statistics where once diabetics have one or both feet amputated, they don't live as long as patients who don't have amputations. So it prolongs their life to save their limbs.
Isn't that interesting? And it probably prolongs everyone's life to save their limbs. And for the people who are listening who are paralyzed from the waist down, because a lot of my audience has different disabilities, what would you say to them when they're looking at their feet and when they're looking at all their limbs? Do you say, be careful when you're close to a bed sore, or what? How would you look at the paralyzed person holistically?
So that's a really good question, because I do see a lot of patients in wheelchairs, and a lot of patients like you're talking about, your listeners, are young, and so there's, they have a long life ahead of them. So there's a couple things that I would tell them. One thing is when you're in the wheelchair, to elevate your feet as much as you can. Now, I know some wheelchairs have the lifts where you can do that, and some of them don't, because I've had patients come in with both kinds. So whenever you get a chance to elevate your feet, because when you're sitting in a wheelchair for several hours at a time and your feet are down, like in the normal sitting position, and they're resting on the footrest in a down position, the circulation is affected and the feet can get swollen. And so when that happens, we need to start elevating the feet more to help the blood move back. The gravity will help the blood move back and get some of the swelling out. That's something easy you can do, where you don't need to take a water pill, for example, to get rid of the water. We can do it just by elevating the feet, but it has to be elevated enough time during the day and high enough in the elevation process. So that's the first thing. The second thing, like you said, is check for bed sores. So if someone is lying down or sitting down for a long period of time each day with their foot in the same position, they could be at risk for bed sores if they have poor circulation. So we need to make sure that they're moving their limbs, their arms and their legs into different positions throughout the day, so there's not a lot of pressure in one particular spot over a long period of time. And you can tell that when you take off the shoe or the sock and you look and there's one little spot maybe on the heel that's really, really red, and the rest of the foot is like a normal color. You know that there's too much pressure there. So that's one thing you need to look at. Go ahead.
You guys, you can also feel a bed sore too. I mean, I have gotten to the point where my body's so sensitive now that I can feel a bed sore coming on like this, tomorrow, like this morning. Thank you very much. I saved myself from getting a full-foot bed sore, but I felt like there was one coming on. So I agree with Michele that you gotta move.
Yeah, and for people that are maybe paralyzed and so they're numb down there and they can't feel one coming on, you can look, and if you see a redness or a purplish area in one spot where there's a bone, like say your ankle bone or your heel bone or even by your toes, that's a warning sign that you could develop a bed sore there. And so we got to either cushion it with pillows or different types of cushions, or we got to move it or do both.
So putting a pillow underneath, maybe the next time I feel that so I can stick a pillow underneath. So that the foot gets elevated. I would still suggest that you can put a pillow underneath. I need to practice what I preach, because obviously with my poor circulation, it happens to me and I move, you guys. So it happens to the best of us, but I move on a daily basis. I'm up and walking on a daily basis. So but with my poor circulation, that is something I have to look out for. And what made you turn into a shoe designer, Michele?
Well, I had a lot of patients that were coming in to me, mostly young professional women that need to wear high heels or like to wear high heels at their work. Maybe they're in sales or something like that, or an attorney, and they have to be a little bit dressed up for work. And so they're wearing heels every day and they're having a lot of pain in the ball of their foot. And so they're coming in to me asking me if I could do surgery on their foot or inject something like silicone gel, which they've, read about online, to make it more comfortable so that they can wear their high heels. And like I just was mentioning to you, I look at the patients holistically and I try not to do surgery unless it's necessary. And so what I said to them is, why don't you just wear a more comfortable high heel? And so the answer I kept getting was, we can't find any, not any that look stylish. All the comfortable high heels look like, quote unquote old lady shoes. And so I started researching the different shoes and I saw what they were talking about. There are some good brands out there that are comfortable. And so, but they might have been really pricey for them. And so I looked into what could I do to make a high heel shoe more comfortable for women so that they can wear these shoes all day at work and not be in pain. And so I started designing a shoe, and that's what led me to become a shoe designer. And I created a company called 34 Minutes, which is a comfortable high heel line of shoes for women.
And okay, where can people find you? Where can people get a pair of 34 Minutes? I wish I could wear high heels, but I can't because due to my feet are so messed up that I have to stick with my tennis shoes or my ballet flats. I might have to design ballet flats for myself and go and become a shoe designer like Michele did, because ballet flats are hard for me and high heels are even harder for me. But that's another whole podcast in itself. But where can people find you and how can people get a hold of you?
Okay, so I have, for each one of my businesses, I have a different website. So for my health coaching and my holistic medicine, my website is my name, drmichele.com, and that's Michele with one L. For my podiatry website, which is all about diabetes and foot care, which we've been talking a lot about today, my website is my practice name, which is elmontefootdoctor.com, and that's Elmonte, ELMONTE. And then my shoe website is 34minutesshoes.com, and the 34 is the number 34. And you could buy the shoes right there from the website.
Okay. And before I let Michele go, I'm going to let her ask me 2 to 4 questions about anything that she's been interested in asking me.
Okay. Thank you. I love interviewing guests. And I hope I can have you on my podcast as well.
I would love that. I didn't even know you had a podcast.
I do have a podcast. I didn't mention it when I was giving you my website, but I do have a podcast called Body Wisdom with Dr. Michele. And if you go on my Dr. Michele website, you can find the podcast right there. And I would love to interview you. So what I would like to ask you is, what inspired you to create Butterflies of Wisdom?
Well, I wrote a book at age 23, and 2 weeks after the book came out, people were asking me, complete strangers, mind you, were asking me, how do you do all this amazing stuff with a disability like cerebral palsy? And I thought, well, if I come on this podcasting like one more time and explain I have cerebral palsy, people are going to tune me out and not listen. So then I thought, why not bring lifelong learners on like myself and infuse my story with their stories? So that's how Butterflies of Wisdom came to be.
Oh, nice. That's nice. I like hearing stories like that. And what would you say to young people, let's say in high school, who have a disability or something that they're getting harassed about or teased about at school? Because I know that teenagers can be bullies. You know, having a teenager myself, I know some of the things that they go through. So what would you tell a teenager that has a disability that is having a hard time dealing with the social aspects of high school?
Go find the closest adult. Go find the closest adult. And you don't have to necessarily be a tattletale, but let the closest adult to you know what's going on. Because a lot of times, and I'm in the education system as well, I teach one day a week. And a lot of times these teachers push it underneath the rug. So if they can do it in my own way and present it to the class, and I know many schools have anti-bullying policies, but that doesn't help because now we have cyberbullying. So go tell the closest adult to you or your parents and get them involved. That would be my advice.
Okay, and then my final question to you is, you mentioned that you don't take any medications except vitamin D, which is a vitamin, so I applaud you for that. But what inspired you to get off of medications or to not take any when I'm sure there's been several doctors that have tried to get you to take them or recommended them to you?
I last took my heavy medications in 2009. And the reason why I stopped in 2009 is because they made me dopey. They made me not sharp mentally. And my mom at the time, who passed away, unfortunately, decided that she would rather have me deal with cerebral palsy as is than be on Baclofen. Baclofen is a muscle relaxer, you guys, and it helps relax the muscles, but yet it makes you dopey and it makes you lethargic and it makes you icky. So for some people it helps, for others it doesn't. And CT goes by case, and so Baclofen goes by case. But what a lot of people, what a lot of doctors want to do is give kids with CT Baclofen either orally or through hockey puck injection in their stomach. They literally put a hockey puck to inject the Baclofen in their bodies, and then you have a foreign object in your body, which will still make you dopey and unproductive. So that's why I decided to get off Baclofen.
Oh, great. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear it, and I hope that you can inspire as many people as you can to do the same thing and to take their health into their own hands, because
that's
really
what
need
I
to do
hope
that.
to do, Michele. That's what I hope to do, Michele. And when you look up Baclofen, you guys, you will see the size hockey puck that they tried to give me in 2006, and we refused, and at the time I was still taking back living only, and it just made me a mess. It just made me a mess. And I'm glad that if I was still on the back living, I wouldn't be doing this podcast. There's no way.
So I hope just that last sentence alone should be inspiring to your listeners. So thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you. No, thank you for answering my questions and asking me the fascinating questions that you asked me. And I hope you guys enjoyed another episode with Dr. Michele and I hope you go to Dr. Michelle's website, especially the high heels. Thank you very much, because we need comfy shoes, and Michele is all into comfy shoes, and so I hope you guys subscribe to Michelle's podcast and get enjoyment out of that. God knows I will. And then I will see you guys later. And this podcast has been sponsored by Go Kitta, Kitte, and what Kitta does is a desktop app for Twitter. You compose a tweet, they put the trending hashtag with it. And so Kitta is a phenomenal asset to the solo entrepreneur. And this podcast has also been sponsored by Grace by Grit. Grace by Grit is a clothing line out of California. I have a full outfit, and then Grace by Grit is going to give you guys 20% off the clothing line. So when you guys go check them out, you can get 20% off, and more information along with Michelle's information will be in the show notes. Thanks to you guys.